This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. VRS coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRacing roller coaster? If so, VRS one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
Welcome to Phillip Island and welcome to Club Day Masters here on SimSpeed TV. We're here for yet another special event. This time something very, very different for the drivers in Club Day Masters, running the V8 around Phillip Island, a track that they are familiar with, in a car that they're very not. It's going to be a very, very interesting night of racing. My name is Jay Kennedy, alongside me, as ever, Cameron Dance. Cam, this should be very, very entertaining to say the least. It might not be the best racing in regards to the best drivers we've got in these cars, but seeing drivers drive a car that they're not that used to can be just as entertaining, and in some circumstances even more so.
Absolutely, and we've seen time and time again that usually when you throw a spanner in the works, it can produce some interesting results and actually some reasonable racing as well in some regards. So looking forward to seeing what tonight's going to be like and what we're going to see in terms of performances.
100%. And drivers are just out there in qualifying at the moment. Usual format for Club Day Masters for tonight, that being the two 30-minute races with the qualifying beforehand. And they're just out there getting themselves acclimatized to the conditions right now. Track doesn't need too much of an introduction, but we're going to give one anyway, because, I mean, it's such an infamous track within not only the real world of racing, but within iRacing itself. It's the unofficial Australian home of iRacing, because it was the first Australian track on the iRacing service way back in 2010.
Yeah, so certainly one of the more older circuits to be on the service, and obviously everybody within the Aussie community knows this reasonably well, with the fact that they've done at least some laps around the circuit, whether it be in a V8 or something else. So certainly does tend to produce very, very good racing as well in general, not only in the V8 but in other cars as well. So it does lend itself to being one of those tracks where you're usually going to end up with a very, very exciting night of racing.
100% right. We're going to see some very, very tight racing. We're going to see a little bit of argy-bargy as well, which we do love to watch and do love to see. As we said, the drivers are out there in qualifying at the present stage, and at the moment it is this man, not that man, this man's son that's in pole position, that being Glenn Boyd on screen, and there is Jack leading the way at the moment. Currently P1 in this qualifying session, but still 5 odd minutes to go. But the two Boyds definitely have a little bit of a grasp on the field at this stage.
Yeah, it seems to be at that point, but not too big of a differential between the two Boyds at the moment. It's only just under 2 tenths as well, so still reasonably close. And then you go back to Vince Giotto in third, so it's still reasonably close between majority of this field at least.
Yeah, exactly right. The rest of the field behind the Boyds is quite close, but yeah, a little bit of a gap back from them at the moment. A 28.7. Now, the driver's running a fixed setup tonight, which means that everyone runs exactly the same car, so don't have to worry about tweaking the setup and adjusting it. They can get out there and just jump in and drive, which for a series like this I think is actually quite good. That's Vantagiato, and I think a car coming out of the pits, because that pit blend can be quite treacherous, but running a fixed setup I think very cool for these drivers to have to get their head around, but it does save a little bit of development time, and some drivers really scratching their head on how to get these cars to go in the right direction.
Yeah, certainly. V8 not necessarily the easiest thing to optimize in terms of setup as well, so you tend to spend a lot of time testing to get that setup right, so the fixed setup certainly does help in that regard and help everybody sort of have a grasp on the car as well, rather than struggling a little bit as well.
So tonight, as we said, running the standard format of two 20-minute races with, two 30-minute races. Both races will have a pit stop required and a safety car. So taking the pit stops at the right time to make sure that you don't end up in trouble with the safety car, very key. We've seen time and time again in this series that not timing that pit stop can be detrimental. The only issue is this car on fresh tyres is an absolute beast. Other than that, it is a quite tough car to drive. So timing that pit stop may not be that you want to pit before the safety car. You might want to pit during it so that you can gain some spots at the end and have a good car right at the end of the race.
Yeah, it certainly might be the way to go in some respects, to do an overcut sort of strategy compared to what we're used to seeing, where most of the drivers will do an undercut or pit a little bit just before the safety car ends up coming out. So we'll have to see who's going to end up doing what. You'd have to imagine that some will possibly try and undercut just to get out of traffic and possibly use those fresh tyres and clean air to their advantage, but we'll have to see it nevertheless as to what's going to happen.
Jackson Rihanna out there on track on screen at the moment, and he helps if I actually keep my microphone open when I'm trying to talk. There's Jackson Rihanna joining us on Zoom as well, so good to see Jackson out on track and back after a week off last week or the week before. I can't remember when. He had a couple of weeks off, I think, actually, so great to see him back out there again. We've got a few drivers joining us on Zoom again tonight.
Yeah, certainly good to see Jackson back out there and doing a reasonable job at the moment. Seeing P4 not too far off at Vantagiato as well, so we'll see if he can improve at all throughout the rest of the session, but we'll see who's going to make an appearance on the Zoom feed and who's going to end up possibly showing their emotions a little bit too much. We'll have to wait and see.
Hayden Jackson here on screen, currently sitting in position number 7. Not that far off gaining a spot. What's that? 0.02 of a second. He's behind Andrew Hobby at the moment. That was a little bit of a wayward moment there for him. He's also joining us on the Zoom feed. I was about to cut to him, but I think if he's stopping, we might not stress too much about showing him. Everyone nearly done their qualifying. Greg Holmes just crossing the line. What will be his final flying lap. Only a minute 23 left on the clock. And of course, a hard cut for qualifying means that once the timer hits 0, you don't get to finish a lap. So it actually looks like it might be everyone. Drivers just out there now will be doing a little bit of practice of start procedures, maybe, because this car not the easiest car to get off the line either.
No, it certainly isn't the easiest thing to get off the line, especially on cold tyres, where if you're not careful, you're going to end up with tons of wheel spin and pretty much just sitting there doing burnouts. So you're certainly going to need to practice those standing starts if you haven't already, and find out who's done their practice and who hasn't. Very short time.
Yep. I think with that, with almost everyone now back in the pit lane, we will go through. Yeah, we will. We will go through the starting grid for this race tonight, and on pole will be Jack Boyd. Alongside him will be Glenn Boyd. So the two Boyds side by side on the front row. Next row will be Ivan Vantagiato and Jackson Rihanna. We've got Angus Cook, who are also joining us on the Zoom feed. We'll show some onboards with him throughout the race. Andrew Hobby alongside him on row 3. Row 4 will be Hayden Jackson and Nick Skraev. Row 5, Anthony Connors and Greg Holmes. And we've got Philip Paradiso, Richard Brookfield, the first driver not to set a time. Then we've got Darren Sharp and Marlon Fraser, our 14-car field for tonight. I think 14 cars, probably a big enough field for us to have some entertaining and maybe comical racing, but hopefully it stays, for the most part, pretty clean.
Yeah, hopefully it's as clean as it possibly can be, and hopefully minimal incidents happening out there on the circuit. Obviously, you're going to possibly expect a little bit of door banging and wheel-to-wheel action, but nevertheless, hopefully no major incidents of any kind like we've seen in the past.
So 30 minutes will be on the clock for each race, as we said. And both races will have that safety car at some point, completely random time. We don't know when it is. The drivers don't know when it is. So it will be a complete surprise to us, them, and everyone as to when it does come out. Always love to see a good random safety car. It does throw a little bit of a curveball as the revs rise. And a jump start from Vantagiato potentially there. He did get away a little early, but other than that, a fairly clean jump the whole way through the field. And Vantagiato did get that second wave of start very, very nicely. And does jump Glenn Boyd, takes second position. Although that's a big lock-up in the Southern Loop.
Yeah, very, very big lock-up. I'd say that's certainly a smoke signal that you wouldn't want to be seeing from the straight, but it's been a very, very good start for Vantagiato, and I did actually wonder if he was maybe going to get Jack Wood on the way into turn 1, but didn't quite manage to get there in the end. Glenn Boyd trying to come back at him though, and having to do a little bit of defending as well from Angus Cook, so he'll hold onto that position, and everybody else sort of single file for the time being. Scary though, and one other battling to get ahead, and Jackson trying to hold it around the outside, but not going to happen. And in the background, Greg Holmes having a little bit of a moment as well.
And Darren Sharp doesn't look like he's taken to the grid, which is a little bit disappointing to see, but this is on here between Vantagiato, Glenn Boyd and Angus Cook. Say that car of Cook's and also Rihanna's, they look absolutely outstanding. The Summit Sim Racing team cars is another big lock-up into MG. Whoop, car around in the background. Nope, they've continued on.
Yeah, a little bit of a loop going on in the background, but so far so good, and everybody clean as can be so far. Angus Cook trying to size up Glenn Boyd just in front of him. He's going to look to the inside on the way down towards turn 1. Not quite going to have the run though to poke his nose out, and would have to sit in behind, and he's got his teammate Jackson Rihanna just in behind as well.
Currently P4, so still lots of racing left in this one. Continues on. Philip Paradiso's just lost a spot there to Richard Brookfield. Brookfield's car obviously replicating Russell Ingall. I wonder if we'll see him out there doing a bit of enforcing throughout this one. But Angus Cook now side by side with Glenn Boyd, Jackson Rahana. Sorry, that is side by side. So Cook's lost a spot. Now Rahana's trying to get through.
Yeah, looked up the inside and got that move done at the Honda hairpin very, very nicely, and Cook not really putting up much of a fight either, so sitting his teammate on by to try and have a go at Glenn Boyd. He's run a little bit deep on the way into Loogie Heights, and Rihanna's going to try and go around to the outside, a little bit ambitious, and he's going to end up off the road, and that's Vantagiato around as well.
Yep, facing the wrong direction at MG is Vantagiato. And that has hurt that run that he was having, because he was flying along, deciding now's the time to bring it in. And we will get a replay and see what exactly happened there, because there was a lot of smoke. Other than that, we don't really know what happened.
Yeah, just having a look back myself, and it just looks like he's done a little bit of rear brake locking, and he's locked the rears a little bit too much, and as a result spun the rear end around a little bit too far to recover it, and a quick nice little flick spin to get back and going, but he's brought it down to the pit lane, which is probably not a bad idea considering those tyres are probably going to be hurting a little bit as a result of what happened there. And Brookford trying to get, or keep ahead of Anthony Connors, but Connors going to sweep around the outside and get that position off him to move in to PA.
Giotto still stopped, and we just saw in the background there Marlon Fraser in the Monster Energy car having a little moment. Giotto still stopped, so I'm wondering if he's actually had a speeding in pit lane penalty as well to amplify the issues from that one, as a safety car is called very early.
Yeah, certainly very, very early. And the piece only done 3 laps at the moment, which not even 5 minutes into this race. So it's certainly going to throw this up a little bit. And imagine possibly everybody's going to come down onto the lane this next time around under the safety car. But we'll have to see if anybody does decide to stay out and try an overcut strategy with some new tyres for later in the race.
Exactly right. It's not a bad ploy to get yourself an overcut now, with a time still left in this race. As we said, it's a timed race, so it is a full 30-minute race. Once the timer hits 30 minutes, that will be the final lap at that moment. So we'll come by pretty quickly, as we've got Hayden Jackson on screen. Good to see Hayden joining us on the Zoom feed tonight. He was very, very quick to jump on once the feed was posted, so great to see him nice and keen and excited to get out there and be on the feed for tonight.
He certainly sounded very, very keen to jump in as early as he did, but nevertheless not doing too bad a run. So hasn't lost or gained any positions so far, and has more or less been scrapping around that sort of area of just on the tail of Scariev as well. So we'll see what this race, the safety car restart, I should say, is going to end up doing, and whether he's going to gain a few positions possibly out of it.
No surprise to see Nick Scrave in a yellow car. Just surprising to see it's got some sponsors on it tonight. He seems to find himself a yellow car, doesn't he?
He certainly does, whether it's a very bright Dunlop yellow or some other yellow car. It's usually always yellow at some form or another. At least you don't miss it with the fact that it is bright yellow too.
100%. Running the Nick Percat Dunlop Super Dealer Brad Jones Racing livery. So pit window, we would assume, is open now. We would think that everyone's going to jump in now. Jack Boyd clutching. He closes into the back of the iRacing safety car. Everyone's coming except for Glenn Boyd.
Very, very interesting to see Boyd deciding to stay out, and there is one other deciding to stay out, Phillip Paradiso staying out on track, so he'll move into second. Everybody else coming down onto the lane. Vance Giotto probably stay out, obviously, with the fact that he's completed his pit stop as well. So only 3 takers not coming down onto the lane this time by.
See when everyone does come out of the pits.
Nice grab, jumping everybody.
Yeah, very, very good stop from Nick Scrave. Pit stop was around about 6 seconds quicker than Jack Boyd's was Nick Scrave's pit stop, so he is now effective second. But I'm wondering if he actually took tyres. Very, very short pit stop.
You would have to think so, with the fact that they happen at the same time as refueling. And I'm pretty sure... No, he didn't actually take tyres by the looks of it. So, might be in a little bit of trouble later in this race, maybe.
I guess the thinking there is they'd only done 3 laps, but even still, getting that one lap advantage. They really are good for one lap, aren't they? Tyres in these things.
Yeah, they certainly are, and you certainly have to look after them very, very conservatively. You can't really afford to slide or push them too hard. There's sort of, I guess you'd compare them to the likes of the NASCAR Cup cars on iRacing's time model, in that you have any sort of abuse towards them, and they're not going to be too nice to you later on in the race.
The lights are off the safety car, so it will come in this time around. We'll see who can get the run away at the restart. We approach the 10-minute mark of race 1 tonight.
So the big question is, when is Glenn Boyd going to decide to go? Is he going to decide to go early, or is he going to decide to go as late as he possibly can? We'll have to wait and see when he's going to go. Everybody formed up, and he is away and leaving Phillip Paradiso in his wake. That is a massive jump by Glenn Boyd and a very, very nice restart.
Great restart there, and Jackson Rana also side by side with Nick Scrayev. Boyd's already through, and have a look at Van Vantagiato elbowing Nick Scrayev out of the way.
There certainly came a little bit of a possible rub there on the way on by through turn 1 to get on by, so Scrayev slopping it in behind it. Scrayev slotting in behind Vantagiato at the moment, and Rehana's looking to try and go up the inside of Paradiso as well at the hairpin, and that's the rears locked, and around both of them go, and Scrayev into it as well.
Covers that one, but Phillip Paradiso, his own little moment, runs off. Also off the circuit is Greg Holmes as well. Scrayev now side by side with Angus Cook. But that's unfortunate for Rihanna, because he was doing a really good job. Had some decent pace. Bonnet's now missing on Scrayev's car.
Man, quite a bit of front end damage to that Dunlop machine by the looks of it as a result of that impact that he had, unfortunately. So his straight line speed probably going to be quite compromised compared to everybody else around him. We'll have to see how he fares at this time down at the front straight during the rest of the race, but we'll see what's going to happen. Is behind him side by side Connors and Rihanna trying to go around the outside, and is going to make it happen, and nearly grab in the wall.
No, unfortunate there. Nick Scrayev just lost it. It's an incident that I know I've done. I'm pretty sure anyone that's driven this car at this track has done. Just hit the grass on the outside, and then you get that horrible speed wobble up that you just can't correct. And Scrayev in the fence, and got a little bit of a helping hand, unfortunately, which made that incident a lot bigger than it probably looked.
The Metro Racing School replay, and just end up on the grass, and then that bump on the exit as well. Nearly saved it, but got hit by Rihanna, and then Anthony Connors getting involved as well. And Hayden Jackson somehow weaving his way through that without any sort of damage at all.
Watch this. This is really, really good driving from Anthony Connors. Sure, he gets involved in this, but there's the hit. Round he goes. Plucks it back a couple of gears. Let's go.
That is proper Hollywood stuff there, to hold onto that thing just from doing that sort of a 360.
Great bit of driving from Anthony Connors. So he continues on. Yeah, too many issues. Nick Scrayev just limping the car back to the pits. He'll probably have to come back in for another stop. I'm going to guess he'll take tyres this time though. No, going to continue on.
Yeah, you have to imagine he'll come down onto the lane at some point. I'll be very, very surprised if he doesn't have a meatball based on all that damage and how big of an impact he had with that concrete wall as well on the pitch straight. But very, very close at the front, and then also Hobby and Brookfield currently nice and close together at the moment as well.
Yeah, Andrew Hobby currently in 5th. A little bit of a lock up there for Richard Brookfield, but he holds on to it. And continue on, moving in the right direction. It's been easier said than done throughout this race. Oh, nice slide.
A little bit of lock on the exit of Siberia there, manages to just hold on to, and that's Marlon Fraser having some issues as well. Ending up in the grass and dropping in behind Greg Holmes.
Yep. Greg Holmes has had a couple of issues as well. Drew, hang on to it. Had a few issues through Honda hairpin throughout this race. Anthony Connors just had a moment ahead of Rihanna there.
And nearly ended up losing the rear end there as well, but managing to just hold on to it ever so slightly and recover it quite nicely. Rihanna very, very focused by the looks of trying to hunt down Anthony Connors, who's just ahead of him and closing that gap down ever so slightly each corner by corner. See the pace differential as well, just through turn 1 alone. Rihanna carrying so much more pace as well.
Yeah, definitely got a little bit more feel for the car. I just noticed too that Jack Boyd's last lap was very, very off the pace and he lost a spot to Vantagiato. So something on that last lap happened to Jack Boyd for him to lose a spot. Also just seeing Andrew Hobby has parked the car, unfortunately.
He just caught it actually just before he mentioned it and just lost the rear end on the way through the Honda hairpin. Angus Cook diving up the inside as well, so must be a little slightly spooked and then tried to get on the gas a little bit too early, and as a result, around he went and off into the grass.
Unfortunate way for his race to end. No doubt he'll get it back out on track. And we'll go back out there for race 2 as the move is on for position number 2. It's now the fight between Jack Boyd and Ivan Vantagiato. I'm just seeing Nick Graves brought the car into the pits as well, so he's obviously struggled with that damage.
I think Scrave not deciding to get back out there as well. It's very, very close between Vantagiato and Boyd, and Vantagiato is going to run very, very wide as a result of locking that inside front, and Boyd's just going to slot on by and say thank you very much, or is he? Because Vantagiato throwing it back up the inside and Boyd trying to hold it around the outside. A little bit of a bump as well on the exit from Boyd onto Vantagiato, and Boyd's literally pushing him on the way down towards Hayshed.
Great to see a bit of elbows out racing and pushing and shoving and toing and froing in the V8. What they're built for, isn't it?
Yeah, they certainly are built for a little bit of ruffling up the feathers and a little bit of argy-bargy going on. Vantagiato wrangles ever so slightly wide there on the exit of the second last corner, nearly ending up in the grass as well. Lucky to hold on to that one, but is the move going to happen this time by for Jack Boyd as head down at the front straight, pulls to the outside as Vantagiato goes defensive on the way down towards turn 1, and Boyd not going to go around the outside. He's going to try and get the exit out of it, turn 1, and look to the outside of Southern Loop for turn 2. Not quite going to be able to hold it around the outside there either, but he might just get the exit for turn 3 at the hairpin and be able to make something happen. They're going to draw side-by-side out of Southern Loop on the way down towards the Honda hairpin, and Boyd's going to be on the outside, Vantagiato on the inside. Who's going to be the bravest on the brakes? Vantagiato locks an inside front, goes deep again, and that's going to be Boyd fairly through that time.
Yeah, Boyd set up that move, didn't he? He just set up that mistake. Almost could see that one happening and forced Vantagiato to have a big deep break to get the move done, and that was all she wrote from there on. And Boyd back into second. Glenn Boyd leading the way, but they've got a 4-second advantage, 4.5-second advantage. That could close up very, very quickly in a race like this.
Yeah, it certainly could close up reasonably quickly, although we'll have to see what Jack Boyd can do in terms of lap time and pace now that he is by Vantagiato as well. But Vantagiato is probably not going to be giving this one up too easily based on the fact he's still holding up on to Jack Boyd, who's not too far away. Should get a little bit of a draft on the way down the front straight, but it's not going to be too much, not enough to get a move done at turn 1 at least.
No, not quite close enough, but Angus Cook in the background. Last lap by was quicker than these two. Of course, they did have a pass for position, so you have to be a little bit careful of the battle behind. Speaking of battles, this is battle scars here for Hayden Jackson, but his pace is looking alright. He gets back through, and Jackson Rana last lap by was around about 8 seconds off the pace, so definitely had a moment on the last lap. But getting through, always a good sign.
Yeah, especially when you consider how much cleaner Rehana's car is as well. So not doing too bad to drive around at that damage and slight disadvantage in pace that he's going to have in a straight line. So going to see what he can do over these next few laps. And looks like he's slightly pulling away ever so slightly, but we'll have to see what's going to happen. But Rehana's certainly going to want to try and keep up with him and try and close that gap down and get on by again.
This is we were praising Jack Boyd for that move. He's now behind Angus Cook. Something's happened again on this lap. And also something's also happened to Glenn Boyd. Oh, Glenn Boyd, of course, in the pits. I forgot that he hadn't pitted yet.
That's right, so Boyd down onto the lane, and Jack actually having a moment on the way through Loogie Heights, and that's why he's ended up behind Angus Cook. Manages to get that move done on the way into turn 1 though, so not too much lost there. But Vantagiato is now going to be the one who's leading this race, and it's going to be another possible swap of position between Boyd and Vantagiato in a few laps time, I think.
For sure. Jack Boyd won't want to give this one up too easily. He'll be trying to get this position back as quick as he can. And he's going to bring Angus Cook with him, you would think, just based on pace that these two have.
Currently not too bad in the pace department, running similar times to what Glenn Boyd was running before he pitted, and also what Vantagiato has been running as well, so should be able to keep up with Jack Boyd and use him as a little bit of a draft buddy to pull him along towards Vantagiato and possibly be on for a possible fight in the race. Lead Vantagiato with another lockup as well on the way down through Loogie Heights. So that inside front's not going to be too particularly happy coming the end of this race with Vantagiato if he keeps doing that.
Exactly right. We're starting to struggle. Big thanks to the supporters of this round, or this special event of Club Day Masters, that being Simworks, Digital Marketing Tribe, and Stream Air Conditioning. Thanks, guys, for your support. Looking at around about 5 laps to go, which will come by pretty quickly, as Jackson and Rana are still going at it, these two.
Going at it for the last few laps, and still haven't changed positions around. Is still there or thereabouts, just not quite able to get a move done at this stage. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen, but he's either biding his time or he's possibly just lacking a little bit of pace. He was a little bit quicker that last time by compared to Jackson was Rehana, so might be able to do something, but we'll have to wait and see.
Speaking of faster on the last lap around, this guy here, Jack Boyd, was almost a second faster than Vantagiato on the last lap. So that gap was around 4 seconds at the start of the lap, now down to 2.5. He's definitely flying along. Glenn Boyd's rejoined the race after his pit stop in position number, or he rejoined in 8th. He's now up to 7th, just got past Greg Holmes. But Vantagiato and Boyd definitely not done. Angus Cook doesn't look like he's quite able to hold on to the back of Jack Boyd.
Be just starting to drop away a little bit, does Angus Cook, from Jack Boyd. A 30.6 last time by for Cook, while 30.0 for Jack Boyd. So Boyd certainly has the pace, 3 tenths quicker as well that last time by compared to Vantagiato. So might see a move at some stage from Boyd on Vantagiato if he can keep this up, and Cook running a little bit wide on the way through Southern Loop, and he's looped it as well and ended up just over the lip as well.
When you get it off the circuit, they're very, very tough to bring it back on because the elevation off the edge of the circuit, where the service road is, makes it really tough to get back on. And Richard Brookfield not too far away from maybe getting a move done here on Angus Cook. If he does get the move done, or if he continues in position number 4, gap at the front now down under 2 seconds.
So Jack Boyd's certainly closing that gap down to Vantagiato and doing it at a reasonably quick rate as well. Another lock-up from Vantagiato there, and sending a few smoke signals to Jack Boyd, but Boyd certainly closing that gap down very, very quickly with the way that he's going. Only 5 minutes to go in the race as well, so not too many more laps, and it's going to be very, very close once they get to the end of this race as well, I reckon.
Should be 4 laps to go when they cross the line here. My maths say 4 laps. I think that's right, isn't it, Cam? 4 to go? Yeah, definitely. Definitely will be 4 to go. 90-second lap times means 4 laps in 6 minutes. So it'll be 4 to go. Definitely Boyd has enough pace now to be able to catch him, but will he be able to keep the mistakes out of it? Because he's made quite a few.
Certainly has made quite a few over the course of this race. A lot for someone you'd expect not to be making as many mistakes as he has in this race, especially. So we'll have to see what he's going to do. A little bit of a wiggle there from Jack Wood, trying to get the power down out of Siberia there. So certainly pushing, trying to catch Vantagiato in these last few laps, and no doubt will be trying his best to keep the car under him and not make any mistakes, especially with how close he is now.
Not that far away now. It's within a second as Glenn Boyd through on Jackson Rihanna in the background. Move used to be done fairly easily as Phillip Paradiso continues on, limping his car around. Good to see him continuing on, even though he's obviously struggling with the car. These cars are not the easiest things to race.
Yeah, they certainly are, and especially over a long number of laps as well, such as this sort of a race where you're trying to keep those tyres under you the whole time as well. So, and this track, very, very heavy on tyres as well, so you certainly do have to make sure you look after them and make sure that you're driving the car at enough pace to not lose too much time, but also at enough to not overdrive the tyre as well.
Now under a second. Jack Boyd well and truly there, and that's another lock-up for Vantagiato, struggling with the brake bias in this fixed setup at the moment. Is Vantagiato. Is Jack Boyd close enough to get a move done? Not yet, but I don't think it's too far away.
Yeah, I don't think the move is too far away indeed. I'd say it's going to happen in at least the next lap or so, especially with the fact that we've only got around 2.5 minutes on the clock. So he's going to want to get them a little bit of a move on here and use as much pace as he possibly can, will Jack Boyd, so he can get that move done and move into the lead of the race.
The 2 laps to go, 2 minutes on the clock. Will Vantagiato be able to hold on? We do know that he has got a very, very good defence in his driving style. So will he be able to use it and hold off this position right now?
Yeah, that's very much the big question, and he's should be able to do it if he can get the runs off the corner and set himself up nicely, but we'll have to see what's going to happen. And nevertheless, Jack Boyd is certainly not going to go out without a fight in this one to try and take the win. Vantagiato going defensive on the way through. There been a tiny little bit of a lockup, less of a lockup than we've seen him do, but Jack Boyd nearly getting the run off the corner, but just not quite that time by. But it's very, very close between these two, and both getting a little bit out of shape, but Boyd gets a slightly better run out of Siberian. Now he's going to look to try and possibly set up a move here.
Background, Glenn Boyd did get through on Hayden Jackson, so he's now up in the 5th position on those fresher tyres. It's a little bit wide through Lukey Heights, goes Vantagiato. What that does, it opens up the line for him to be able to defend a little more aggressively into MG. White flag this time for the drivers as they come across the start-finish line. Vantagiato with around about a 3/10 of a second advantage. 3/10 of a second at Phillip Island down this front straight. Might as well say that there's no gap at all because it will close up and be gone by the time they get to turn 1.
Yeah, certainly Jack Boyd all over the back of Vantagiato now on the way into turn 1, and that's a very, very big lockup for Jack Boyd. Ran a little bit wide on the way through turn 1 as well, so that's going to compromise him a little bit, and as a result, that's gaps come out slightly, but we'll have to see what he's got left in the tank. Has Jack Boyd over these last half a lap or so, and whether Vantagiato is going to be able to hold on in this last half a lap or so.
Yep, only half a lap to go. Clock is now officially at 0. And Jack Boyd, I think Jack Boyd's overdriving the car at the moment. He's trying too hard to close that gap in, and he just had a huge slide coming out of Honda. Much better grip coming out of Siberia, but I think the gap's gone now. Vantagiato may have done enough to hold on here.
Certainly going to require a very, very big mistake from Vantagiato at this point for Boyd to win this one, and I don't quite think Boyd's going to be able to do it with the fact that all those passing opportunities are now pretty much well and truly gone. So I think it's fair to say that as long as Vantagiato doesn't end up off the road at the final corner, he's got this one under wraps.
Thing is, with this car and this track, you'd never know. Vantagiato may have just done enough. Checkered flag waves. Ivan Vantagiato wins race number 1. Jack Boyd just finishes in 2nd position. Back in 3rd will be Angus Cook. Podium finish for him. Richard Brookfield will finish in 4th as Cook has a little bit of a technical issue there. Had a little minor heart attack for him. Brookfield in 4th, and Glenn Boyd will round out the top 5. Hayden Jackson, good job from him, he'll finish in 6th position. Jackson Rana will finish in 7th. There goes Jackson, Rana. And Anthony Connors just got past Greg Holmes on this lap as well, so they've swapped positions a couple of times in that last lap. Greg Holmes is going to make it home in position number 9. Up 1 spot from where he started. Marlon Fraser will finish in 10th position in the Cam Waters inspired livery. Philip Paradiso will be our last finisher with 3 DNFs, that being Hobby, Skrayev and Sharp. Well, Darren Sharp didn't take to the grid, so sort of technicalities, not even a DNF, is he?
Not really. So only 13 finishes out of that one, and it's going to end up being a invert of the entire field for race 2 as well.
The results from race 1 on screen. Half a second in the end was the gap. First back to second between Vantagiato and Boyd. Then we've got Cook, Brookfield and Boyd. That being Glenn in position number 5. Hayden Jackson 6th. Rahana in 7th. Connors, Holmes and Fraser the top 10. And then we had Philip Paradiso, who did finish the race. Hobby and Skrayev DNFs. And Sharp did not start. We'll take a very, very quick break. When we return, it will be the second race of the night here for Club Day Masters here at Phillip Island. You're watching SimSpeed TV. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, VRS created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognise brake markers, you'll find out which curves to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise. And you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The VRS quick reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire global MX-5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the VRS track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going around the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
Welcome back to SimSpeed TV and Club Day Masters special event here at Phillip Island in the iRacing V8s. These 1.5 ton touring cars around the Phillip Island circuit always provide entertaining racing. That race was pretty enjoyable there, Cam. It provided a fair bit of action, a little bit of hip and shoulder action, a few mistakes as expected with an unfamiliar car to these drivers, but all in all, it was a very, very clean race.
Yeah, it certainly was. A few incidents, unfortunately, with the likes of Scary on the front straight and a few mistakes, but otherwise a reasonable good race and very, very close in the end between a lot of them.
Exactly right. It was very, very close, and the position between P1, P2 definitely was very, very tight at the end. I think the other thing that may have was the race to not quite play out as you'd expect was Glenn Boyd's bizarre pit stop time. He didn't pit under the caution with everyone else, and that definitely put him back through the field, but he did have good pace on those fresh tyres, so interesting to see if he does that same strategy or goes a completely different route this time.
Have to wait and see what his strategy is going to be this time around, whether he's going to decide to do an overcut or whether he's going to decide to do a similar strategy to what everybody else is going to be doing. So we'll have to see what's going to happen, but certainly might spice the race up a little bit if he can have the same sort of pace with those older tyres.
Full invert as well, so all positions reversed for race 2. Should make it a little bit more interesting as well. We'll see the likes of Paradiso up the front and see Vantagiato and Boyd try and work their way through the traffic, work their way through cleanly. That can be an issue around this circuit, is getting your way through the field in a race like this.
Yes, certainly, and being able to manage that traffic as well and make your way through that field is very, very important in these sort of races where you're having to start all the way down the back. So very much going to be all about making sure you can pass cars and being able to set yourself up nicely for the end of the race.
We come over the Bass Strait and towards the southern end of Phillip Island. We look at the starting grid. Sharp, click the right button, that's the results, not the starting grid. There we go. Sharp, Grave, Hobby and Paradiso, the front four with Fraser, Holmes. Then over the page, Connors, Rihanna, Jackson, Boyd, Brookfield, Cook. Then we've got Boyd Jr., Vantagiato. Rest of the fielders, there is where the drivers will line up on the grid. And almost like magic, they'll just appear. Almost.
Yeah, quite.
Except it's not
Full.
magic.
It's not quite full of the abracadabra of spec, but it's not far off.
There's a few empty slots on the grid. They're being Sharp, Hobby, and Fraser. Alan Fraser's decided to not continue with racing for the night as the green flag flies, and not a great launch there for Greg Holmes, but everyone else seems to have got away fairly cleanly. Great jump from Phillip Paradiso. The jump away to the lead. Jackson Rihanna side by side with Nick Scrave, not able to get through. Everyone else looks like they've got away reasonably okay. Holmes was probably the worst start out of the lot, unfortunately. Jack Boyd with a great launch, already in the 4th position.
Yeah, a very nice move done on Glenn Boyd there on the side of the left of Vecchiato, trying to have a move done on him as well on the way down towards the hairpin. Jackson getting involved as well. He's off the road. Manages to avoid hitting anyone, but that's around Jack Boyd as well.
Yep, Jack Boyd facing the wrong direction. And he will continue from the back of the grid. We'll be hoping the safety car comes out nice and early to get him back up forward. We continue on at the front. Phillip Paradiso continues at the front with a 3-car breakaway here. Paradiso, Scrave, and Jackson Rihanna, the top 3 at this stage. And Jackson will be trying to get this spot done before Vantagiato gets to him, as Scrave has a big lunge up the inside.
Very, very big move there from Scrave, and he's going to do it around the outside of Paradiso as well,
nice.
and ran nearly getting out, joining Paradiso off the road and into the grass, nearly into pit entry. Managed to gather it back up, but that's going to check everybody else up behind, as there's a little bit of drama going on as well there.
Yep, Paradiso's rejoins caused a couple of issues back in the field, but we continue on and have a look at the late lunge there from Jackson Rihanna, and he's not quite clear yet.
He's not quite. Scary is going to hold it around the outside and send it back up the inside, and Rihanna's going to run wide, and Scary going to be ending up off the road as a result of running wide, and that's going to allow everybody else to slot on through. He's going to rejoin just in behind Phillip Paradiso and Brookfield as well, so he's lost a lot of positions and time out of that as a result.
Definitely has. So it's unfortunate for Scrave. He was doing a very good job in the lead. Glenn Boyd just behind Greg Holmes, so that's a good recovery from Holmes. Remember, we said his start wasn't great. He started up near the front, dropped back a heap of positions, but he's worked his way back up now into 3rd position. Hayden Jackson, Glenn Boyd, and just in the background, Anthony Connors having a moment. Phillip Paradiso in there as well, and Richard Brookfield also in that pack too. Angus Cook's dropped off the back, Nick Scrave off the back, and of course Jack Boyd off the back. But Jack Boyd has pitted, which will be interesting to see how that plays out when we get to the safety car and the end of the race.
It'll be fascinating to see what's going to happen with the fact that he's going to be on very old tyres come the end of the race, and whether he's going to end up hitting under the safety car as well to get some new tyres and use this as a little bit of a, I guess, sprint session before the safety car comes.
So
With a big moment.
Yep. Just went straight into the wall. We were about to, it's I think the 3rd time I've gone to jump on board with Hayden Jackson, and something's happened around him or behind him. That was a very big impact into the wall for Phillip Paradiso, and I think his race may be done. Here it is on the Virtual Racing School replay, and almost the same incident that we saw with Nick Scrave just happened a little bit earlier. And instead of looping in front of the field, he went straight into the wall. I've done that many times before. Cam, I'm sure you've done that too in this car.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've done it on a few occasions. I can't recall how many times, but probably a few, getting frustrated doing the likes of Scott's pre-quality and all that sort of stuff, trying to do a fast lap. So it's no surprise that that corner catches out everybody at some point. But Hayden Jackson all over the back of Greg Holmes at the moment, and Holmes running a little bit deep, blocking the inside front on the way up through Loogie Heights. Jackson looks to the inside, not quite close enough to get a move done there, but very much possible to get a move done on the way into turn 1 if he can keep this sort of distance.
Tell you what, he's almost got the Cameron Dance lean going on, hasn't he? Got to work on that a bit more before he gets up to your spec, but he has got a fair bit of lean going on. Trying to push the car along. Well, I've done that too.
Yeah, need to get a little bit more lean and also get your head down and do a little bit of extra aerodynamics there.
It's a little bit wide up the inside, looking Richard Brookfield, but not quite able to get through. This is now a true 3-car battle. Anthony Connors, Nick Scrave have both come into the pits, taken their pit stop, filled a bit more fuel in the car. And Boyd and Connors have both taken tyres. Scrave again opting not to take tyres. Through goes Hayden Jackson. Off spot. Now into P4.
And Brookfield possibly looking to get on by Holmes as well at some stage with how close he is all over the back of that very, very bright, I want to say orange Simracing machine.
I think it's the Palmer's orange, isn't it?
Very reddish orange.
Yes, the metallic layer, the spec map, has definitely made it very, very bright. That car, love it though.
That little bit of chrome does certainly add to that livery, makes it stand out quite nice. And it's not overdone, but it's just enough chrome to make it look a little bit good.
Yeah, chrome just takes away from the red a little bit, doesn't it? The red, the orange, whatever colour it is. The brightness. This battle continues on as Phillip Paradiso comes out of the pits at the front of the field. Jackson Rihanna managing to hold on from Ivan Vantigiato. They're continuing their fight. And at the back of this shot here, seen, coming to the bottom of the screen now, just saw him there. There's Angus Cook closing in on these guys. Last lap by was around about 1.5 seconds quicker than these. So he will be in this fight in the very, very near future.
He certainly will be very much in with a good shot as Holmes and Jackson have come together at the hip. No, it actually wasn't contact at all. They've both just sort of done the same thing, actually.
How good's the helmet? Has Devil on it? Holmes locked up the front and it just went off, and the same thing happened with Jackson there. Just sort of locked the fronts and drifted a little bit wide. Again, another incident that I've done many times.
Locking the rears is very, very easy in this thing, and I think we know a certain person that will be able to tell you all about it. Richard Amstead would certainly have a book about it.
He doesn't want to talk about it ever again, I don't think. Jackson Rihanna, P1. Cannot discount Jack Boyd from this situation though. Currently in 8th position, but he is the lead car of those that have pitted. As up the inside looks Vantigiato. I'll tell you what, he may have just pulled off a textbook move at Phillip Island in these cars.
Yeah, very, very nice move there by Vantigiato to get the lead off Ray Hana at the hairpin. Very, very nice send up the inside.
On board with Angus Cook. Doesn't look stressed at all, does he? Just looks nice and calm, nice and casual. I say I do like that he's using that sequential shifter off the side though.
Yeah, certainly adds to a little bit of realism using a shifter in these things. A lot of drivers you find using paddles these days to try and minimize that gap between shifts, but I would probably say I would be one of the minority using a shifter and probably enjoying it more and probably using it more often as well in these sort of cars.
I always used a shifter when I could, until mine broke. But I'd even use the H pattern when I was doing oval stuff. Vantigiato in the lane, Glenn Boyd in the lane. Good to see him in early this time. And you also just saw Angus Cook coming in as well. So Jackson Rihanna Richard Brookfield, Hayden Jackson, all in the pits. All yet to pit. Greg Holmes also yet to make his stop. Vantagiato is away. Then Boyd also away. Angus Cook will be away in a second. Jack Boyd will scoot straight on by his father, as he does. Gap between Boyd and Vantagiato, around about 6 seconds, but that will be down to 0 once that safety car does come out.
Boyd's had some very, very good pace over the last few laps as well from pitting early, so he's certainly the fastest car on track by quite some margin with those tyres he's got on that car at the moment. Probably won't be able to keep up the same sort of pace as the race goes on, but certainly very, very nice pace at the moment compared to everybody else around him.
Jackson Rihanna responds. No surprise to see him come straight into the lane with Vantagiato pitting on that previous lap. Richard Brookfield, I'm going to guess, will come in this lap too. Doesn't make much sense to go out too much longer, especially when the drivers that you're battling with have already pitted in these things.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's usually better to get onto new tyres and try and be on a slightly better or similar playing field to everybody else once the rest of the field starts to come out onto the lane, as Jackson and Holmes join those on the lane, and Jack Boyd is going to end up going on by to find himself effective second.
Yeah, effective second because of this. The Vantagiato was our effective leader, but watch this right here at Lukey Heights. That's not where the track goes. And boom, into the wall. Now, I'll tell you what, that's not a good thing to have happen when you're on fresh tyres.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's gone well out and truly, and then the fact that he's not only bounced off the tyre bundle, but he's also hit that solid dirt mound that has the tyres in it as well has certainly not helped, as he probably would have been okay if he glanced off just the tyre bundles, but unfortunately that's not been the case, and Angus Cook nearly had a move set up, but unfortunately the caution has come in at just the most inopportune time.
Yep, and interesting this time, everyone has made their pit stop. Jackson Rana is our race leader. He will pick up the iRacing Porsche safety car. It will be close to half race distance once he reaches it, or once they come back by the next time. I say I really love that livery that these guys have got. That one there for Rihanna. The purple and the shape on the side, it has a real old school HRT feel to me. If that had a Mobile One livery logo on it, it'd feel like it was right.
Certainly would. I want to say it looks like a Walkinshaw car from...
Yeah. Definitely has that look to it, doesn't it? It almost looks like that retro when they did the throwback at Sandown a few years ago.
Yeah, I think that... I want to say it's 2016, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, something around that. Scott Pye and James Courtney ran them. Scott Pye ran it as a 0-2. So what the vibe I get straight away, I mean, it's very, very different in regards to the colour scheme, but that's just the feeling I get. So Rihanna, Boyd, Brookfield, Cook, the top 5. We are nearly at the halfway point again, thanks to the supporters of tonight's event, that being Extreme Air Conditioning, as well as Digital Marketing Tribe and SimWorks. Big thank you to them for their support of this series. We said before, we'll be back to standard racing action next week at Okayama, which always provides really, really good racing in almost every car. But something about racing at Okayama with MX-5s and Audi TCRs just feels right, doesn't it? Just the track that's built for that sort of racing.
Certainly it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there, and should be a very, very good race, as we've seen in previous series, where for the most part it's been reasonably good racing. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen at the next round. And obviously those MX5 drivers are going to get a little bit of nostalgia as well, with the fact that they've probably all raced at Okayama in the MX5 in their rookie years of iRacing at some stage or another. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to remember what they're doing best.
Exactly right, and drivers that remember those days will be the ones that may end up doing the best. And Barney works his shoulder out. Jump back on board with Jackson Rihanna. He looks like he's pretty happy and comfortable with where he is right now. There he is. Look, he even knows that he's on screen.
Yeah, certainly seems in high spirits at the moment, leading this race under safety car. Surprise, Jack Boyd didn't come down onto the lane, so we'll have to
He's already
see.
pitted, of course.
Yeah, that's true, but with the pace he has, you would think he would just to get a little slight tyre advantage, but we'll have to see what's going to happen nevertheless as a result, with the fact that he's going to be on old tyres compared to everybody else for the rest of the race.
They pitted on lap 1. He had that little incident, decided to pit straight away. And Jackson Rihanna pitted on lap 7, so not a huge disadvantage for him. And I mean, the lap times that he was doing with the 6-7 lap old tyres were about the same as what the other guys were doing on fresh ones, so I don't think he really needed to worry too much. His issue might be his farther behind, Glenn, who's on fresh air tyres and has had pretty good pace as well with them.
So to see what's going to happen, but that pace differential not as big as I would have thought it was, so you have to see what's going to happen. Obviously the colder tyres are going to help a little bit, and those on newer tyres are probably going to have a slight advantage, but once they get some pressure and temper to them, it'll be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen. And with just over 10 minutes to go, around 30, I'd say 12 and a half minutes to go roughly, by the time we get the green flag, it'll be interesting to see how those tyres are going to last on Jack Boyd's car.
Here we go. 13 minutes on the clock. As you said, it'll be around 12. Everyone back on the lead lap, with Paradisa getting waved by the safety car, so he's back up there now too. That means that all 11 of our starters in this race are in with a shot of winning this special event for Club Day Masters. Jackson Rana will lead the field away, but when does he go? I'm going to try and catch Jack Boyd off guard, because otherwise he could lose this spot. Good jump.
Yes, a very nice restart, and also a very, very equal one as well between Jack Boyd and everybody else as well. I guess Cook looking to try and size up Richard Brookfield on the way into turn 1, just in the background. He's not quite going to get the overlap though and get the move done in turn 1.
Oh,
but Brookfield run wide, and he's going to get that move done anyway, and trying to get around the outside of Glenn Boyd as well is Angus Cook. And Scary of slightly in this as well, just on the tail of Brookfield too.
Yep, Angus Cook nearly able to get the move done on Glenn Boyd straight away. Scrayev, as you said, in this too, is up the inside looks. Jack Boyd not able to get it done. A huge lock-up for Angus Cook, and he somehow held onto it. Wasn't much in that though.
Yeah, there certainly wasn't much in it at all. It was crossed up on the way into the corner, and I do not know how he saved it, but he managed to hold on to it somehow. So very, very good car control there from Angus Cook to hold on to it. Scary of Infantigiato though, side by side through Hayshed, and Scary going to end up having to back out of that one. Infantigiato is going to gain the place out of it as a result, but Boyd is all over the back of Rayhana at the front of the field. A slight lock up there from Rayhana on the way down through MG. And Boyd's very, very close now, and is going to try and size up a move on the way into turn 1 with the gap that he's got at the moment, heading on to the front straight through the final corner. And Rayhana's going to have to try and defend this one as best as he possibly can, as Boyd's got a nice draft. He sticks to the inside, does Rehana, and Boyd is going to have to go around the outside, the long way around at turn 1, and he's going to sweep around the outside, not going to be able to hold it. Road goes Jack Boyd, he's going to gather it up somehow and join just in front of Angus Cook.
Whoa, that would have been scary for Angus Cook to see. We have to get another look at that. And you know the exact shot I'm going for.
Indeed I do, and you certainly can't beat the onboard shot of onboard Angus Cook as he comes through turn 1, and you see Boyd off on the left-hand side, and then suddenly, hello, there's the car right. Yeah, that was just so close.
Jack Boyd off the circuit. Watch this here. Oh, I don't know how there wasn't contact there.
You cannot have timed that any better in terms of a rejoin.
Jack Boyd's rejoined the race in position number 4. He's got Richard Brookfield right behind him. He was behind Brookfield, but he's managed to get back past. Ventigiato behind, then you've got Jackson and Scrayev in their own little fight now as well. Connors and Holmes in theirs as well. Paradiso wasn't quite up to the back of the field when the safety car restart happened, so he's still a little bit behind. But as we've said, anything can happen in these races. Still got 6 laps to go. Jackson Rahana from Glenn Boyd, and now Angus Cook, P3. Last lap by, those 3 were the fastest 3 on track in that order.
Imagine Jack Boyd will be sitting around for too long in 4th place at the moment. We'll probably get on by Angus Cook reasonably quick, as Glenn Boyd has a very, very big slide on the exit of the Honda hairpin, and Boyd looks to the outside of Angus Cook, but not quite going to be able to hold it around the outside. He's going to get a very nice exit though out of Siberia, and as a result might just be able to set up a move on the way through Lukey Heights. He's not quite going to be able to get a move done at Hayshed, but he's very, very close, and I imagine if the door is left open, he's going to go for a move up the inside on Angus Cook. Is not quite going to be able to get close enough though, but so we'll sit in behind, and now these 3 all nose to tail for the final spots on the podium.
Yeah, this is enabling Jackson Rana to absolutely drive away from the field right now. He's pulled 2.4 seconds over Glenn Boyd. Jack Boyd is there, ready to pounce. And, oh, there's no way through that way.
Jack Boyd trying to set the exit up out of turn 2. Looks to the outside of a Southern Loop, and he's going to try and hold it around the outside as best as he can, but he's just not quite going to be able to do it and get squeezed out a little bit by Angus Cook on the outside. He's having to back out of it as a result, and Anthony Connors off the road, manages to rejoin safely. A little bit better than what Jack Boyd did a few laps ago, but at least he's back on the circuit and racing. Move done there by Ventigiato and Brookfield, but they both run a little bit wide, and Brookfield's going to try and hold it around the outside at Siberia, but Ventigiato going to have the ideal line, and as a result keep that position.
So continues on. Anthony Connors running into more issues. He's continuing on though. He's just had a moment back of the field. Boyd versus Cook. Well and truly a good fight going on here, and Angus Cook will be driving at a very, very stressed level right now, because Jack Boyd has driven these cars a lot. Hasn't driven them for a long while, but he used to be very, very competitive in the old Monday Night V8 series.
And used to go very, very well in the V8 Scop series as well, so he certainly knows what he's doing as far as how these V8s handle and the ins and outs of them, and he's going to try around the outside into turn 1. Not quite going to have enough overlap though, and he's going to set the exit up for turn 2, but again just not quite able to time it too good to lock up from Cook, and that's going to allow the door open ever so slightly, but just not quite able to get up the inside as Ventigiato's off in the background as well.
Another moment for Ventigiato, and Brookfield back through. Giato rejoins around about 3 seconds behind. 5 minutes left on the clock. Jack Boyd. Oh, he held on to it. I don't know how, but he held on to it.
All sorts of crossed up on the way in there, literally full lock sideways, and just managed to gather it back up somehow. So they should just hold on to that. That's allowed Angus Cook to get a little bit of breathing room and gives us a way on the zoom.
I don't know if they've, how they can give us a wave while they're going, because she's pretty sideways action going on out there tonight for a lot of these guys. So 2 hands on the wheel seems to be the best policy, at least in my thinking it would be.
Sideways, then probably want one hand.
Rihanna, Boyd, Cook, Boyd. 2 Summit cars, 2 Boyd Racing cars in the top 4 at this stage. With how close, sorry to cut you off there, Cam, with how close Cook and Boyd have been racing here, it's great to see how clean they've kept it as well. They've been very, very clean and courteous in their very, very tight racing as Boyd comes back for another look around the outside.
Very, very clean. There's been a little bit of bumping going on, a little bit of love taps and a few here and there, but nevertheless, it's been very, very good and exciting and clean, like you said, between these two over the course of the entire race and battle that they've been having. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and whether the elbows end up getting out and it being used later on, but we'll have to see. And nevertheless, Jack Boyd's certainly getting run for his money at the moment.
Definitely is. The pressure is definitely being applied, and this could be the slightly older tyres that you were a little bit concerned about yourself. I mean, there's 5 laps difference in age of tyres for Cook and Boyd. Jackson Rihanna at the front has the best tyres of them all, as Angus Cook has a few tech issues, and that could have frightened Jack Boyd a little bit there. The front of the field, though, that gap is starting to close. Jackson Rihanna leading by 1.4 seconds at this stage. Glenn Boyd, 4/10 quicker on that last lap.
It's pretty much over half a second quicker that last on the previous lap as well. So there's been a lot going on as now Boyd's trying to get around the outside of Angus Cook at turn 2, and he might have momentum on his side on the way down towards the Honda hairpin. Cook's going to be ever so slightly ahead, but he's going to have the inside for the hairpin is Boyd, and a little bit of defending from Cook, but he's just not quite going to be able to hold on to that position in the end, and Boyd is finally going to get on by, but Cook's not going to give it up. Nearly looked up the inside, a little bit of a bump to Jack Boyd's rear bumper, and a little bit of sideways action for Angus Cook as well for good measure, and that's going to allow Jack Boyd to just pull away ever so slightly and hold on to third.
Yep, so Boyd now back into third position. Front of the field, we need to focus on this now because it is very, very close between Jackson Rihanna and Glenn Boyd. Only 1.2 now the gap. Glenn Boyd will close up a fair bit down this front straight because he's pretty much in striking distance. He's pretty much in draft range now.
It's within striking distance, but he might run out of laps with that gap that it's at the moment. 3/10 quicker that last time by was Glenn Boyd, so he might just miss out at the rate it's going, but it's certainly going to be very, very close come the end of this race between Glenn Boyd and Jackson Rihanna.
And I will say that Jackson Rihanna looks the most focused he has had, most focused look he's had on his face all night. He now looks like, hang on, this is actually a race now. We're going at it, and we're going at it for the win. I don't know if he's going to give us a wave this time.
Yeah, certainly no funny business going on here. He's got the serious eyes on and knows that what's at stake here, and that he's got to get it home in the first place. And Glenn Boyd is certainly not going to be letting off at all and closing that gap down as each corner goes by, so he's got a lot of work to do, does Jackson Rihanna over this last lap, and he's just got to do enough to hold on.
White flag this time when they come to the start finish line is in the background. Jack Boyd had a huge lock up into MG. The gap now 1.4 between third and fourth. But you don't need a timer on screen to see the gap between first and second. It's only a couple of car distance. A couple of cars distance even. If I could speak. White flag flies. Barney gets a shoulder work out again. We start the final lap of tonight's racing.
Fantastic racing in the secondary race as well, with everybody really scrapping hard for their positions and working their way through the field as well, especially those starting at the back. You have to remember that Glenn Boyd started 10th and Rihanna 8th as well, so done very, very well to get to the front of the field, and now they're nose to tail at the end of this race, so it's anybody's guess as to who's going to be coming out on top, but Rihanna's got not too long left to just hold on and get this one to the checkered flag to take a win.
Exactly right. Isn't far away, only a couple of corners to go up to the hayshed. Ivan Vantagiato is around in the background at a moment, and Brookfield and Jackson both get through. Will Glenn Boyd be able to make a lunge and get through? One chance left. Looks like Rihanna may have done enough, although a little bit slow on the exit. Glenn Boyd thought about it. He's going to have a late lunge at the line. This is actually going to be a lot closer than the last race. Jackson Rihanna, will he have done enough here? He's just going to do enough. Picks up the win. The Rihanna wins. He looks happy with it too. Rihanna, Boyd. Then we've got Jack Boyd, Angus Cook, and Richard Brookfield will come home in 5th position. Hayden Jackson will finish this one in 6th, with Ivan Vantagiato in 7th, and the rest of the field following on behind. Ex-Grayev had a very up and down race. He'll finish in 8th position. Greg Holmes will finish in 9th. Good to see all the cars that started the race have finished the race, which is good.
Good to see everybody managing to come across the line and make it pretty much an entire field of finishers, and everybody's going to be on the lead lap pretty sure as well.
Yep. Considering how the night started, we probably wouldn't have thought that that would have been the case, but great to see that everyone has stuck it out and got the race finished. Phillip Paradiso about to come and fully complete the race, but he's done enough now to be 100% classified. One corner for him to go. See if he does a big slide through the last corner. I think the last time he did a big slide through the last corner, he ended up in the wall, so probably deciding against it. That is race 2 done. And our results official now, with Jackson Rihanna finishing ahead of Glenn Boyd by just over 1/10 of a second. Jack Boyd finishes in 3rd. Angus Cook in 4th position. Then Richard Brookfield 5th. Hayden Jackson, Ivan Vantagiato, Nick Grayev, Greg Holmes, and Anthony Connors round out the top 10. Phillip Paradiso, the last of our finishers. The rest did not start the night. Cam, that was a very, very fun night of racing. And as we said before, we get back into some normality next week as we head to Okayama.
Yeah, certainly back into normal proceedings, with the fact that we've got the TCR and the MX-5 making their appearances once again for the regular season, I guess you could call it. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there, what sort of results we're going to see, and who may or may not shake up the championship a little bit.
Yep, and the only place you'll be able to see it will be here on SimSpeed TV next week, next Monday night, 7:40 Australian Eastern Standard Time. We thank you very, very much for tuning in and watching tonight's special event. Big thanks to the supporters of our racing tonight as well, that being the team at SimWorks, Digital Marketing Tribe, and Extreme Air Conditioning. behalf of Cameron Dance, I'm Jay Kennedy, signing out for tonight.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?